So we're here at the vaccination center, and this is the primary location where persons who wish to have the vaccine will get the vaccine. What will happen when you arrive at the vaccination center, we do have security in place so that we know who's coming, and they will direct you to the appropriate place where you would park. Once you've parked and you've come to the actual front of the vaccination center, what will happen, we go through a screening process, and this is to make sure that no one has any symptoms that may be associated with COVID-19, because you don't wish to give the vaccine at that time if you have symptoms. So your pressure is taken, your temperature is taken, and we also ask you key questions. Once you've passed that stage, then you are able to check in to verify that you've kept your appointment, and once that has been completed, you are shown to an area where you go through the informed consent process. Everyone should have that information before they arrive to the vaccination center, and it is to make sure that you understand the information and that you are still happy to have the vaccine. And once that process is completed, then you'll be directed to the area where you'll actually have your vaccine. But before you get your vaccine, the nurse will ask you key questions to make sure you have no medical conditions where we would have to advise you to wait, or we would make sure that we need to assess you for a longer period. Once that has been fulfilled and you have signed the consent form to say, yes, I still wish to have the vaccine will be administered. The nurse will then, based on your medical history, advise whether you need to wait 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and you'll be shown to the observation station, and that is where you would wait, and we will have persons who will check on you to make sure everything is going well, and once there are no problems, then voila, you have had your vaccine, the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for this first batch of vaccines that we have. So that is the process that we have set up at the vaccination center. We wish, as you leave, to provide you with the second date for your second dose, which will be 21 days apart. And of course, we would want you to leave good thoughts of your experience here at the vaccination center.
Doctor, could you tell us when we can expect the next batch of vaccines to arrive? Do you have any idea when?
I don't have a date. However, we know we will get in additional doses in the near future.
I mean, I've heard from the Caymans, so they're talking about like the next flight. So when you say the near future, do you mean like?
So I'm unable to give you exact dates. However, we know that we'll be getting additional doses.
Yes. How long do you think it's going to take to vaccinate the population of Bermuda?
Again, that's a question that will have to be determined based on many factors. So at this point in time, I don't wish to give that information.
How long, Sarah from the Royal Gazette, how long is a typical process for one patient?
Okay, thank you for that question. So we estimated that the process where you get triaged and you actually come into the vaccination station and you get the vaccine should take about 10 minutes. And then if you have to wait an additional 15 minutes for observation, an average person would take 25 minutes. We have to bear in mind that some persons may take a little longer because of additional information we need to have, or the time may be shortened based on the whole process. But an average person should take about 25 minutes.
What reasons would you be kept for the full 30 minutes?
So once we've gained information regarding your medical history, we would probably want to observe for a longer period to make sure that everything is well after having the vaccine.
What kind of things are you looking out for in that crucial period? Any concerns or issues that you might be looking out for in the patient during the wait time?
So we're just making sure that some people, sometimes from the experience, they might feel a little faint and they need to sit a little longer, or because of the excitement, because obviously this is a very exciting process. It's new. So it may not be anything to do with the vaccine, but because you have so many eyes on you, such as all of the media and otherwise, they may feel a little stressed, so it helps them to calm them and make sure that everything is well. Obviously, you've heard about the allergic reactions that some persons may have had, because people may have histories of allergies they're not aware of, and they may not have been able to say that to us. So part of the process is making sure that they don't have that experience and we're not able to manage that. So that's why we may ask people to wait a little longer based on the medical history that's given.
One more question from me. Are patients able to generally drive afterwards, leaving the centre, or are you advising that they have a lift?
If they can have a lift, that's good. Part of the process, before you leave, you make sure that you're able to drive. So that's part of our observation process. So we wouldn't send anyone who we recognize who's, they really can't drive. We would allow them to wait longer. But generally, that's part of our observation process to make sure that people are well enough to leave and able to drive.
Thank you.
What sort of allergies would be problematic here?
Any allergy that causes the person to have difficulty to breathe, that will be one of our main concerns. You usually call that an anaphylactic reaction. Again, if we have the history, we looking at the contents of the vaccine, generally, there should be no issues regarding allergic reactions. But again, we don't know everybody's history, so we make sure that we're able to manage that if that occurs. But the one will be an anaphylactic reaction. That is the one we will be most concerned about.
You've got 3 people here today. How did they get selected to be here today?
So based on the priority groups that we would have shared before, we said that in phase 1, the main groups would be those who were within the elderly category because they are at higher risk for severe disease if they get sick. We also said when we look at the critical infrastructure, there are certain groups that need to be protected because they help to keep our country running. Those are the essential services, policemen, correction officers, etc. Then we looked at the healthcare workers. Again, they are putting themselves on the front line to make sure that Bermudans are protected. And the other group that right now my brain has somehow, yes, rest homes, sorry, which is a very important group under the elderly category because they're living with lots of other elderly persons, and we've recognized that's an area where if you do have a case, it can easily spread to the other persons living in that area. So those are the big groups that we are vaccinating in phase 1, and these 2 gentlemen fit within those categories.
Thank you. Can we speak to those gentlemen now?
Yes, that's okay.
Mr. Rollins? Could you just so what's your feelings? Any feelings of apprehension going into this process?
Repeat that again?
Are you concerned about this process in any way? Any apprehension whatsoever?
No, not whatsoever. But with all of these people are getting it outside the country and wherever else, I see why I shouldn't get it too.
So how did you get here today? What was the arrangements that got you from, I assume you were at home. How did you get here today?
My son brought me down today.
And how were you invited?
How would I invite?
Right, how were you invited? How did you
Oh,
there's a lot of seniors in Bermuda, so.
Oh, yes. Well, I believe because of my wife is not that well, and I'm a kind of a caregiver, kind of. So I feel that she can't move around as she should. So I don't want to be like her that way, So I decided to get something done so I could be with her most of the time.
Anyone in your family, anyone you know who has been infected with COVID?
No.
Why do you, any message to the community, the vulnerable population who might be apprehensive about taking the vaccine? Is there a message you can share with them, perhaps encourage them?
No, I think it's right that everyone should get it, providing they're healthy enough to do that. And I don't see what's the problem. There's no problem with all of these thousands of people, not only here in Bermuda, but outside the country, and they're getting it. Why shouldn't I get it too? Keep me away from certain things.
Why is it so important that people get this vaccine, do you believe? Why do you think it's so important that people get the vaccine?
Well, looking at the other countries, how they're falling like dead flies, Bermuda is only a place of 68,000 people. It won't take long for 68 people to lie down and die. We don't want to be in that position. So I go by with whatever they say to do. They're not going to tell me something wrong, medical people, and I reckon that I should do something about it,
Last question from me. Why did you decide to come before the cameras and agree to come before the cameras? You didn't have to do that. What compelled you to do that when you were asked?
Well, because I heard of a few people say, not me, they don't want to do it, they want to see what happens first. So I'm taking the chance to see what's happened first,
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And also, just Gibbons, you want to say?
Okay.
Dr. Gibbons, what's your first name?
Robert,
Robert? You're
I'm a dentist and
dentist.
I'm still practicing.
Still practicing?
Well, I did till the till the coronavirus came, but I haven't practiced since it started. But I still have a license to practice for another year.
Do you still intend
So
to
I
go
still
back
want
to-
my patients to be protected, and my family, and everybody else.
Is your practice completely closed then?
No, it's not. It's still open, still running.
So, how did you and your wife
Yes.
are here today? How did the two of you get selected to be?
Well, the Dental Association put my name down, or they wrote and asked us to put our names down, and we did. Put my name down, so I asked them to add my wife, and she was subsequently added, so that that's how she got here.
How old are you, sir?
84.
So do you have any words to support this entire process?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's essential that we protect the community, and everybody should be vaccinated. I mean, as a child, I was vaccinated. I had no say in whether I was vaccinated or not. And every child should be vaccinated. And, I get my flu shots every year. I get I had pneumonia shots. I have all the things that should be taken, because I think it's important to protect everybody around you.
So how long was your practice here?
How long?
Yeah.
I started in 1963. My math is slipping, but it's about 50 some odd years.
So, and you're Gibbons from Bermuda?
Yes,
Where are you from? What area are you from?
I'm from, my dad was from Devonshire originally. He worked and built the Castle Harbor Hotel and worked there all his life.
Are you still in Devonshire?
Now I'm in Smiths Parish.
Just a quick one from myself. You said that when you were young you had no say in the vaccinations that you had. Do you believe that this vaccination should be mandatory, that everybody should have to get it?
No,
No.
it's a voluntary thing. You can't force people to do things. And I think it's important that they should definitely get it. But I can't say you have to have it, no.
And just why did you decide to agree to do it publicly when you were asked?
Well, I thought it'd be a good way to promote the medical profession, dental profession, anybody that's going to be in that field should be available to get the vaccine. And I know they will. At least I have an associate, and she bought my practice about 10 years ago. So she was kind enough to, Dr. Simmons, and she's kept me on. I was going to work a year, but it was like 10 years I've still been going.